Special on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host for the tournament special, Mike Goodpasser. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host. First up, Sam Teets. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing great, Mike. How about you?
I am doing fabulous. And, of course, as always, anytime he's on the show, you know an important sporting event is about to happen. Help me welcome to the show, Sam McGinnis. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing pretty good. Excited for some tournament action.
All right. You notice in the NHL playoffs, right?
Yeah, I know. That's coming, though. That's coming. We're not too far away from it.
So let's start off here. This has been, to say the least, a strange season. Sam Teets, do you think this will lead to more upsets?
I think we could see some teams that are, you would normally say, favored fall out here in the early rounds of the tournament because Virginia has a couple of players. Actually, most of their team is in quarantine right now, and they won't be arriving in Indy until Friday, and then they play on Saturday. So a team like Virginia, who obviously is the defending champions from 2 years ago at this point, the last time we had a tournament, they are going to be pressing it here with the schedule and how they get there. They're not going to have very much time to rest or settle in, and they play right away. As for Kansas, another team that usually plays fairly well, they're traveling with a much smaller group of players to Indianapolis because three of the players they have on their roster currently are dealing with COVID-19. They won't be in Indianapolis for at least the first round. So you're going to see some teams that usually are very prominent and usually you would expect to get through the first rounds fairly easily might struggle a little bit because of a lack of preparation or a lack of players.
All right, McGinnis, there's no Indiana, Kentucky, Louisville in this tournament, Duke. Does that hurt the tournament?
I would have to say so just because they're normally there. But for the other teams that have played them consistently and lost to them, I wouldn't be as hurting for them. But on a note from Sam Teets there, I do agree that there's likely to be more upsets. I think minus the NFL, we've seen a lot of weirdness this year.
I'll jump in there too, McGinnis. There are a lot of people who hate Duke, though. And sometimes you might watch them. So you might watch Duke just to hope Duke loses. But
that's
at the same time,
that's true. But not having the tournament.
Yeah, but not having Duke in. I mean, people are sometimes excited to see those lower seed teams win, especially when they maybe didn't go to college at a school that has a great basketball team or didn't go to one of these D1 schools. So I think that not having Duke in and maybe giving the opportunity to another school, a lower seed school, to come in and play well isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Okay. All right, guys. I think it goes both ways. I think people like upsets also, so maybe you get a 14 seed in the Final Four. Hell, you never know. I know this. It hurts me because I like to cheer for my favorite teams, which none of them are in it this year. But I do miss cheering against Kentucky.
Yeah, that's something we can agree on. I do miss having to cheer against Kentucky. All
right, guys. We're going to pick all the games today. We're going to start off with the West region, the number 1 seed, the Gonzaga Bulldogs, versus number 16, which will be either Norfolk State or Appalachian State. And when we look at this, the Zags have won 30 straight games dating back to last season. They have 23 straight double-digit wins this season. My concern with them is this. I think we'll all agree they're going to win this game. I don't think we have to worry about a 16-1 upset here. But with Gonzaga, how much does it hurt them, Sam Teets, that they haven't really played a top-notch program since November or December?
Yeah, I think it does. And let's be honest, they've only played 4 top 25 teams. And you look at some of the conference out there, how competitive they are. I mean, teams like Ohio State, I'm just going to pull it up right now to see, but they've played – Ohio State's played a ton of top 25 competition. They're 7-4 against top 25 teams. So they've played almost triple the number of top 25 competitors that Gonzaga has played. I think obviously Gonzaga's going to win this game. They're going to get through the first round, but I'm not as high on Gonzaga being a national title contender as maybe some other people are.
Well, I think they're definitely a national title contender because of one thing, and that's McGinnis. They can play defense. But the one thing is I don't think offensively they're as good as they have been. But you pick a Gonzaga here also?
Yeah, and going back to your point, if you haven't played high-end competition, it tends to help teams relax when obviously in this situation you shouldn't be like relaxed in the sense of, oh, we're just going to blow over every team we play. So I think a bit of a mentality issue could be here also.
All right, we go to the team playing to see who gets to play Gonzaga, and I think this is dangerous for Gonzaga. You've got Oklahoma as the number 8 seed, will battle Missouri, who's the 9 seed. The Sooners are very good. They have wins over Alabama, Kansas, Texas, and West Virginia. They've got Austin Reeves, who's a complete scorer who can do pretty much everything. Missouri has good inside-outside balance with Xavier Pinson and Jeremiah Tillman. When I look at this game, I think Oklahoma wins this game. I like the fact that, you've got a team to beat Alabama, Kansas, Texas, and West Virginia. But I think this is a good matchup, Sam McGinnis. Who do you like here?
I went Oklahoma also, and yes, obviously most 8 and 9 seeds when they're matched up are going to be good games. I actually kind of like a lot of the 11-6 matchups also, though.
All right, Sam Teets, do you agree with us, or are you going with Missouri?
No, I'm going to favor Oklahoma here, and you can actually share. I pulled up the screen here if you don't see it. I can even share it. I've kind of enlarged the bracket a little bit so you can see maybe the one wing of it.
Right.
We'll zoom in a little bit more, see if we can get it bigger. But
there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. So this is obviously on the ESPN site, but we got Oklahoma and Missouri 8 and 9 here. I would still side with Oklahoma. I think they've played more high-level competition than Missouri, and I just tend to favor the teams that have had harder schedules because you know more about them.
All right, that brings us to the number 5, Creighton Blue Jays against the number 12, UC Santa Barbara Gauchos, which is probably the greatest name there. I wonder if Gauchos are upset about that and they need to change it. But when we look at this, the Blue Jays were terrible against Georgetown in the Big East tournament. They've got a great point guard in Marcus Zagorowski, who sounds like an NHL player, Sam. But when I look at this, we had the issue with their coach. Their coach is not with them for this tournament, I believe, Teets. And, I mean, UC Santa Barbara is a really good basketball team. They're led by Jaquari McLaughlin, a 6'4" senior who had 22 points against UC Irvine in a Big West title game. I think this is my first upset. I like UC Santa Barbara here, Teets.
I mean, I'm kind of surprised you picked that. And from what I think they reinstated the basketball coach after just a 1-game suspension. I could check again, but I'm pretty sure.
It doesn't matter because I still think there has to be issues there. And I think that when you look at what this coach said, the fact that he would be reinstated would make me not want to play for him.
That's true. I think I was kind of surprised the players wanted him back, so we'll let him back. And supposedly the players were not pushing to have him tossed off after that, but I wouldn't certainly have been excited to have him back in the locker room after that. I'm still going to side with Creighton, though. I mean, their team has not played any top 25 competition this year whatsoever. At least we've seen Creighton play against high-level teams, and maybe they perform poorly in those games. But again, playing those high-level talented programs means a lot more to me than having a good record but playing absolutely no one.
Well, I just think this. I think UC Santa Barbara matches up well with them. I think they're very good defensively. I think that they have a very good guard to match up with Zagorowski. I think UC Santa Barbara wins this game just because of the disarray Creighton's been in, because really, without that coach making that comment, Creighton, I think, is Sweet 16 talent. Sam McGinnis, who do you like?
So I'm actually going to go US or UC SB here because for me, I actually like the fact that they haven't played a top 25 talent, and I know that sounds kind of funny, but when you're zero expectations on you, it's actually a whole lot easier to play. I've played multiple sports, and that's been the case, and I always played better when there was no expectations, and I could see that being here also.
All right, next up, bottom of that bracket, the number 4 Virginia Cavaliers, the defending champions for 2 years ago against the Ohio Bobcats. Everybody's picking Ohio in this game. And, you know, McGinnis, who do you like here, Ohio or Virginia? Because it seems like everybody wants to pick the upset here.
Yeah, and I kind of understand the logic because in any sport it's hard to repeat, and I do think that Virginia will get knocked off here at some point, but I don't think it'll be by Ohio.
All right, McGinnis or Teets, do you agree?
Listen, I totally understand why people are picking this upset for Virginia. First off, like I said, they're arriving in Indianapolis one day before they have to play on Saturday, so it's not like they're going to be able to settle in at all and get adjusted to the setting. And then, you know, who knows if they're going to have all their players available for this matchup against Ohio. So there's a lot of factors here working against Virginia, and people just love to find the upset. People love to have the upset they bet on, and that's how they make their money. So I understand why people are trying to pick the upset here. I just don't see a way Virginia, even though Virginia has struggled this year, they're not very good against top 25 competitors. I don't see a way Virginia loses this game. I just don't.
All right.
I mean, Ohio's not a good defensive team. They're not a good defensive team.
All right, Ohio wins this game. I think Ohio wins it. I agree with the P. I don't like to go with people that all pick the upsets because they're usually wrong, and it's the upsets you don't see coming. But I think here with point guard Jason Preston, great passer, averages 16 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, shoots over 50% from the floor. He can play anywhere. He'll play in the NBA next year, I think. And I think this Virginia team is – I mean, their defense is not what it once was. And offensively, they're still not a great team. They're coming off a bad ending in the ACC tournament. I like the Ohio Bobcats here to win this game.
I mean, let me put it this way. Virginia's allowing about 16.5 points per game right now, whereas Ohio's allowing over 73 points per game. I just think that Ohio's defense is not going to be nearly good enough to compete against Virginia.
All right, next up, the number 6 USC Trojans will battle the winner of the first 4 game between the number 11 seeds, the Wichita State Shockers and the Drake Bulldogs. Number 1, I think Wichita State and Drake is actually going to be a great basketball game. I expect Wichita State to win that game. Teach, USC or one of these other two?
Now, I will side with USC here. I saw Wichita State play in their conference tournament recently, and they made so many mistakes down the stretch. It would be hard for me to envision them beating a USC team who hasn't played very many tough opponents, but they have a solid defense and pretty reliable, scoring 22-7 overall on the year. If I was to pick Wichita versus Drake, I would probably lean towards Wichita State, but they, like I said, too many mistakes down the stretch for me to pick them over USC.
All right, Mr. McGinnis.
I'm going to side with USC here also, but I have a quick question for Teets as well. Do you think it's better for the first 4 teams versus other teams that just start in the beginning? Do you think it's easier for them just because they've played a game before everybody else?
Well, I mean, the conference championships are not we're not far removed from those games. So to me, it's really not that much of a layover. So I don't think that playing in the first 4 gives you much of an advantage at all, because really you're coming off maybe 5 or 6 days, maybe a week or so of rest in some cases. It's not a huge it's not an advantage. I don't think it's necessarily a disadvantage, but sometimes you do get more tired from those opening games. That's kind of why they're viewed as disadvantageous sometimes.
Well, we've seen teams like Virginia Commonwealth make it all the way to the Final Four, starting from the first 4 also.
Yeah, I don't think it – let me just put it this way. I don't think it has much of an effect compared to what some people will say in terms of fatigue versus in terms of, getting ready and getting in the zone. I don't think it has a huge effect. If you're a good basketball team, you're a good basketball team. That's just that.
Yeah, I think USC is a scary team that could make a run. I mean, they've got a superstar in Evan Mobley, who was the Pac-12 Player of the Year, Freshman of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. He's the first player in Pac-12 history to sweep that trio of awards, only the second major conference player ever to do it. I think USC wins. I think it might be tougher than people think, but I think USC is a team that could make a run. Next up, the number 3 Kansas Jayhawks against the number 14 Eastern Washington Eagles. Sam Teets.
Yeah, this is, if you want to pick another upset, this is another one where you could potentially take an upset here because, like I said, Kansas is going to be missing probably at least 3 players here at the very start of the tournament. And I think that USC-Kansas game, if they both get through the second round, that's going to be one a lot of people will pick an upset in. This Kansas team is not as good as they were in the past. The defense is still decent, but not great. And they're not a terrific scoring team. This is the upset I'm going to take here, even though Kansas has played obviously a lot more top-level competition than Eastern Washington at this point. But I'm going to take Eastern Washington EWU over Kansas.
All right, McGinnis.
I'm going to lean on the numbers here and say it'll still be Kansas anyway. I don't think even if you're playing backups, there are some teams that even their backups are better than other teams' starters, and I think this is the case here.
All right, I agree with McGinnis. So mark me down for Kansas. Number 7, Oregon will battle the number 10 VCU Rams. To me, this game screams upset. I don't think Oregon's very good at all, Teets. I think VCU wins this game.
No, they're actually pretty even in terms of the competition they played this year. They've each only played one top 25 team, and they both lost. So I don't have much faith in either of these programs. So I think this is a chance for, whoever wins this game is probably going to get smacked in the second round. I think Grand Canyon could probably beat both these teams if Grand Canyon somehow beats Iowa. I don't like either of these programs right now. I'm going to give the edge to VCU.
All right, next up, the aforementioned number 15 Grand Canyon Antelopes against the number 2 Iowa Hawkeyes. I don't see Iowa losing this game, McGinnis.
No, I think they would have to give Grand Canyon the game to lose this one. They're in a position that is deserving of a second seed. So, yeah, they literally have to lose this game intentionally.
Yeah, and I think the guy that's really the outlier here, everybody talks about the big man in Iowa, but to me it's Jordan Bohannon, who is one of the best three-point shooters, I think, in college basketball history, especially under pressure. I think Iowa wins this game, and I think Iowa is poised to make a run, Sam Teets.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree here. I think Iowa, the big concern for them will probably be their defense. They're allowing over 70 points per game, which you usually don't see on these championship caliber teams. But just look at who they're going to have to play probably here on the side of the bracket. It's Oregon or VCU. We already said, but I don't like either of those programs. It's going to be a banged-up Kansas team or maybe USC. I would still take Iowa easily in those matchups. Their biggest competitor will probably be Gonzaga, who they might meet there in the semifinals.
All right, let's go to the second round. I think we all had Gonzaga versus Oklahoma. Who do you like here, McGinnis?
I'm going to go with Gonzaga just because they're one of the top teams. I do think they're going to get knocked off, but I'm not going to put them here yet.
All right. Teets, do you agree?
Yeah, I'll take Gonzaga here every day.
Yeah, I'm taking Gonzaga also. I really wanted to pick Oklahoma, but since somebody was the intelligence of you guys has talked me out of it. Next up, I've got Ohio versus Santa Barbara. I'm taking Ohio. Who'd you have, McGinnis?
I had UCSB and Virginia, and I took Virginia.
All right. What do you got, Teets?
I got Creighton and Virginia, and I'm going to side with Creighton here. I'm going to go with Creighton on this one. I know there's a lot of issues in that program right now, and you said it, but Virginia is a team to me that is just primed to be upset at some point this year. And this could be the time.
Final 8, Gonzaga versus Creighton, Sam.
So for me, I had Gonzaga versus Virginia, and that's
why I figured you would know that. So I was talking to the other Sam.
Yeah, I'm going to take Gonzaga. Yeah. I'm going to take Gonzaga. If he's talking to me, I'm taking Gonzaga over Creighton. I think Gonzaga is one of the 8 or so best teams in the country right now, fairly easily. Probably one of the top 5 at this point. So I think they will definitely beat Creighton if that matchup comes to pass.
How about this? I think they're the best team, but I think they're going to lose at some point. I just think the lack of competition is going to hurt them. All right, McGinnis, who gets to your Elite 8?
Sorry, my bad about that. Hard to tell which person you're talking to sometimes. But I took Virginia actually over Gonzaga here in the Elite 8 because I figure they're going to get upset at some point. A lot of the big dogs do sometime, and I'm going to take them here on that one. I do think Virginia will probably get knocked off in the next round, though.
All right, next up. Did everybody have Kansas versus USC? No, they didn't because we had Eastern Washington.
I had Eastern Washington.
Eastern Washington, you realize how stupid it sounds once you say it, right, Steve?
Not Washington.
Right, for the sake of just showing what you guys are picking with the majority picks, I'll put Kansas there.
Okay. But you've got Eastern Washington, USC. Who are you picking?
In that matchup, I think it easily is USC. They have the most talented players, more talented players than Eastern Washington, certainly. And you mentioned Mobley. He's going to be one of the highest drafted players in the NBA draft when he declares. So I don't see a way that USC would lose that matchup.
All right, I believe Teets and I both have Kansas versus USC. I'm going with USC in the upset, Teets, or McGinnis.
Yeah, I am too, actually, because I agreed with what you said about they could actually make a run. I don't think it'll be like Final Four level, but I think it's good enough to beat a Kansas team.
All right, Iowa versus Oregon is what Teets had, correct?
I had VCU.
Oh, you did? Okay, we both had VCU. I'm going with Iowa. How about you?
No, I think that's pretty easy. I don't think Iowa's going to make it to the title game. I think they have a good chance to make it to the Final Four and certainly to the Elite 8. I just don't see this being a team that's going to go out there and win it all because their defense, like I said, is problematic, even with Groza there.
All right, McGinnis.
Which one are we on? Are we still on VCU and Iowa? Because I'm definitely going Iowa, if that's...
I just wish you'd keep up. But, yes, that's where we're at. So we're all going Iowa through there. We got a Sweet 16. What was your Sweet 16 matchup? I've got Gonzaga versus Ohio. I think Gonzaga is too good. I think Ohio goes to the Elite 8. McGinnis?
I took Virginia over Gonzaga in the Sweet 16. So Elite 8, I believe. Yeah, I have Virginia and Iowa, actually.
Okay, we'll wait on the Elite 8. I think I jumped ahead there. Teeth.
I have no idea where we are at this point.
We're at the Gonzaga matchup, and I believe you had Gonzaga going to the Elite 8, right?
Yes, I did.
I jumped ahead of myself. And then we've got Iowa versus USC. Is that the same? And now, is that the same thing you had, McGinnis?
I believe so. Yeah, Iowa and USC, and I took Iowa.
All right. Teets, agree or disagree?
No, I'm fine with that. I'll take Iowa here, too. I think after this is probably when Iowa's dance ends. I can't see them going much further after this point.
All right. So you've got Gonzaga versus Iowa, correct, Teets?
Yep, that's what we got.
Who you got winning?
I said Gonzaga has to be upset at some point, though. So, I'm actually going to take Iowa here. I'm going to talk myself out of what I was saying about Iowa. I'll take them here, have the upset over Gonzaga. And as crazy as that sounds, because I don't love that pick, I just think that both these programs, to me, the 1 and 2 in this bracket, the side of the bracket, just seem like they're going to get upset at some point. They're not going to make it all the way. I'll give it the edge to Iowa here, I guess.
All right, I'm going to go with Gonzaga, but hope you're right. I think they played in December, and Gonzaga pretty much manhandled them. I think this would be a closer game. I like Gonzaga. Who do you got coming out of this region?
So this is the last win I give to Virginia. I think they're going to get knocked out in the Final Four, but I give it to them here.
All right, so you got Virginia in the Final Four.
Yeah.
That'll
Surprise
be blown
team.
up. That'll be blown up almost immediately when they get beat in the first round. I wish you'd pay attention. But all right, come on, say something.
I got nothing to say to that. The whole thing is chaotic, and we could be completely wrong or completely right. We don't know yet.
Well, if it's like the Super Bowl.
I'm leaning on completely right.
Hoping it'll be like the Super Bowl. All right, let's switch this to the East region, Sam.
Pulling down to the East.
All right, the East region. We've got Michigan against either Texas Southern or Mount St. Mary's. Like the Wolverines, they lost Livers, right?
Yep, he's done. He's not going to be playing. He's got a fracture in his foot.
I don't think it'll matter in this game. Even without him, they did a pretty good job at the Big Ten tournament since they won it. I think Michigan wins this game. What do you think, McGinnis?
Yeah, I think this is a clean destruction right here. I think Michigan could go very far in this tournament despite the injury. I actually really like this team, and we've seen it last year as well. Or pardon me, 19.
All right, Teets.
Yeah, no, I like Michigan obviously to win this one, but losing Livers really hurts. I mean, this is a guy who was shooting 43% from beyond the arc, and he was shooting about 5 threes a game. So high efficient 3-point shooter and high volume 3-point shooter. Michigan's certainly going to feel later in the tournament, but certainly not in the first round.
All right, next matchup: number 8 LSU versus number 9 St. Bonaventure. LSU, I think, is one of those scary teams where they could show up, get beat by 20 by St. Bonaventure, or we could see them make a run to the Final Four. Teets, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go with St. Bonaventure. I know a lot of people who want to see the LSU versus Michigan matchup because there's a chance for an upset there, certainly, but I'm going to take St. Bonaventure. They just have a better defense. I think the size maybe will be a little concerned. They haven't played all the top 25 teams. I still think the Bonnies will have a little bit of advantage here over an LSU team. Like you said, it's very hot and cold at times.
All right, McGinnis.
I'm going to go with LSU on the hopes that they will be hot versus their cold side because they're very hit or miss, like you guys were saying. I'm going to lean on them doing it when it counts.
All right, I'm going with St. Bonaventure. I like St. Bonaventure. Bob Lanier took him to the Final Four. Did you know that, Teets?
Yeah, because I actually went to St. Bonaventure and toured the basketball court when I was deciding what school to go to.
Yeah, so I like St. Bonaventure here. And I think if LSU takes them a little bit lightly, they're really going to get smacked. But I like St. Bonaventure in the upset. Next up, this is a game a lot of people are picking an upset with: the Colorado Buffaloes versus the Georgetown Hoyas. And I know everybody screams upset alert. I think Colorado is the better team. I think they're the better coach team. And anybody that thinks Patrick Ewing is a good basketball coach is a damn fool. So Colorado smacks Georgetown and ends all the talk about Patrick Ewing bringing Georgetown back to prominence, because as long as he is the head coach there, that will never happen. McGinnis?
I'm curious now. What don't you like about him?
He sucks.
That was really specific. Okay, I'm actually.
Well, let me put this one. They're 62 and 58 in the 4 years he's been a head coach. That's why he doesn't like him very much.
Yeah. Well, what I don't like about him is this. All right, I've met him before doing the Xavier games. I don't think he has the personality of a great head coach. He's not enough of a BS artist, so I don't think he'll ever get big-time recruits. And I think that's his biggest problem. It's not even the fact that I don't think he can't coach basketball. A lot of times, the biggest thing to being a head coach is to make everybody else believe that you know what you're doing. Doesn't matter if you know or not, as long as everybody believes that plays for you. I don't get the sense that his players believe that. I think Colorado wins this game.
I really want to pick Georgetown here because they have been hot, and that would be the upset pick. But Colorado is just a better 3-point shooting team, and a significantly better 3-point shooting team than Georgetown at this point. They have multiple 40% 3-point shooters, and generally that's what win games nowadays. So I think I'm going to pick Colorado here. I'm going to side with Mike.
How about this? I think most games where you picked a game, if you picked a college team with the best point guard, you usually get the team that wins 70% of the time. And I think McKinley Wright IV is the best point guard in this game. So I'm going to go with Colorado. McGinnis, did you ever make your pick?
No, actually, I am going to disagree with you guys, though, and go with Georgetown. I know it's a little bit different, but I think...
No, it isn't. Everybody else is picking it, too. You might as well jump on board with it.
Hey, bandwagon.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. All right, next up, the number 4, Florida State Seminoles will battle the number 13 seed, UNC Greensboro Spartans. I'm going with Florida State here. I think that they switch very well 1 through 5 on defense. I think the defense makes them a really legitimate contender here to at least make a Sweet 16 run. McGinnis?
I would go a step further and say they could make the Elite Eight and potentially even upset Michigan. I really like Florida State. It's the potential of how much of an upset team they could be down the road is still a question for me, though.
All right. Teets?
No, I like Florida State in this game, too. I love what they've done recruiting-wise, maybe the past, I guess maybe take it back 5 or 6 years. They've added a bunch of high-level recruits. This has really become a much better program in recent years. I think Florida State is going to walk through this game fairly easily.
All right, one of the interesting games for me, we got the number 6 BYU Cougars, McGinnis, against either Michigan State or UCLA, the number 11 seed. I think BYU is overseeded here. I think they're ripe to be beat here. But I think this. I think if it's BYU against UCLA, I would pick BYU. If it's BYU against Michigan State, I would pick Michigan State. So what do you think?
I'm actually going to trash on my own team here and say MSU. I don't trust MSU. They're another one of those teams that I see as hit and miss. They got destroyed by Michigan and then turned it around and then decided to beat Michigan. So I don't know what this team is. It's kind of confusing at times. And then they got beat at their own game during the Big Ten playoffs. So I don't know. I just don't trust them. I'm actually going to go with BYU here. Though I would say generally picking 11 seeds is actually a good idea because in recent years they've had a winning record over 6 seeds.
All right.
Yes, you've done this thing where you've justified the opposite of what you actually did. You just justified, and you tried to justify not picking BYU by then saying that 11 seeds actually have beaten 6 seeds most of the time. So I think I'm going to go with MSU or UCLA here. If it is UCLA, I agree with Mike in this case. UCLA will probably lose to BYU. But if it's MSU, I mean, they just have a way of once they get to the tournament, once they get this time of year, they start getting a little bit ahead of steam, start winning some of these games. And if it's BYU versus MSU, I'm definitely taking Michigan State.
All right, BYU against Michigan State. I'm taking Michigan State. Next up, the number 3 Texas Longhorns against the Abilene Christian Wildcats. McGinnis or Teets? Let's go Teets.
Yeah, I'm taking Texas in this one fairly easy. I like what Texas has done recently. They're 7-6 against top 25 competition, so not an elite level record at that level, but they, compared to ACU, which is 0-1, I would take Texas all the time in this matchup. They're just more trustworthy, and they have much more proof.
All right, I think the thing that worries me about Texas, and I think the thing that limits them to maybe Sweet 16 at best, is their lack of ability when it comes to shooting free throws. And that's something that will always bite you in the butt at the end when you're playing basketball at any level. I like them to win this game, though. McGinnis?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think I'm going to have to go Texas here. I trust them to an extent, but that's an interesting point you brought up. I didn't know about their free throw issue.
All right, next up, the number 7 UConn Huskies against the number 10 Maryland Terrapins. Now, I'm going with Maryland in the small upset here just because I think defensively, I mean, they're really good. And I think Maryland has played against better competition than UConn has. UConn has a star in James Bouknight, but I like Maryland in the upset here, McGinnis.
Yeah, I'm actually with you on that one. Maryland, this one is interesting. I like 7 to 10 matchups because despite 8 and 9s being closer, I found that during the last tournament, 7 and 9 matchups were actually pretty freaking close. So I think this will be a good game regardless of who wins, but I think I'm going to go with Maryland.
All right, Teets.
I hate to make it a clean sweep here, but I am because UConn's 0-4 against top 25 competition. Maryland's 4-7. Playing against much higher level competition throughout the entire season because of their conference right now. And I do think UConn maybe has a better offense than Maryland, but I will still side with Maryland in this situation. They're just a more proven team because they've played better competition throughout the year, and they've actually won some of those games as opposed to UConn, who haven't.
All right, next up, the number 2 Alabama Crimson Tide against the number 15 Iona Gales. Rick Pitino coaches Iona, and Rick Pitino's about to get smacked upside the head, which he deserves because he's a scumbag. I'm going to take Alabama. What do you think, Teets?
I'm siding right there with you. I'm taking Alabama absolutely in this matchup. I really like what they've done so far this year. I do think that's not a team that's a team that's probably capable of being upset, but I wouldn't take them out this early in tournament, certainly, and especially against an Iowa team that just hasn't played. I mean, who have they played? who has Iowa played that's been relevant this year in the tournament level competition? They haven't played anyone, in my opinion.
Well, and weren't they like a number 9 seed or a 5 seed or something in their own conference tournament?
Yeah, this is not a team that will go far at all in this conference, in this championship.
All right, McGinnis.
Yeah, 100% agree. I will say I think Alabama is ripe to be upset early on in this tournament, but not this early.
All right, next up, we've got the second round, which I believe my matchup is Michigan against St. Bonaventure. What was your matchup, McGinnis?
Michigan versus LSU.
All right. Teets, what was yours?
Michigan versus St. Bonaventure.
All right, Michigan, St. Bonaventure. Teets, what you got?
Yeah, this is the point where I will take Michigan here. I know they're Wilson Livers, who I've said already is a phenomenal player, and they really can, if they don't have Isaiah Livers, it's going to be very hard for them to go far in this tournament. But I think there is just a talent gap at this point in Michigan. I like what they've done in recent years, so I will take Michigan here.
All right, Teets or McGinnis?
Yeah, I'm also going to take Michigan, despite the fact that they're playing a different team. I think the result is going to be the same. Michigan is the better team than both LSU and St. Bonaventure, so I don't really think it matters.
I'm going to go with Michigan, but I really want to pick St. Bonaventure. But I'm going to go.
I don't
with
like Michigan either, so.
Well, no, it's not that I don't like Michigan, because you're a Michigan State fan. You're just mad because Michigan's usually better at you guys at almost everything.
This is true.
Yeah. All right. So, what was your matchup in the next game? Florida State. We all had Florida State going to the second round, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
All right. You had Florida State against who, Sam Teets?
I have them against Colorado here. I think Colorado, it's very interesting because I like Florida State a lot, and I'm tempted to pick Florida State here. But I think Colorado has the better point guard play, and you mentioned it earlier. I think point guard play is very huge, at least in college basketball, and to some extent lesser in the NBA because you kind of diversify who touches the ball so much. But at the college level, point guard play is almost everything. So I'm going to take Colorado here.
Yeah, I like Colorado too. I think the Buffs are just more methodical. Florida State's a team that wants to run a little bit more, and the thing has to scare you about the Seminoles, especially after watching them throw it all over the place against Georgia Tech and North Carolina, is whether they can take care of the ball. I like the upset here. I like Colorado. I think it'll be a close game, but I like Colorado. McGinnis.
So I had, remember, Georgetown actually against Florida State, and I think that matchup is less close than the Colorado matchup here, and I'm going to take Florida State.
Okay, so you think that Colorado would have gave him a better game?
Yeah.
Okay. Teach, you want to pick that apart, or are we just going to ignore it?
I think we just let go at this point. Like, let them have one. Let them have one. we still have half a bracket to fill out here.
All right. Did everybody have Texas versus Michigan State?
Yeah, I did.
All right. Who do you like there? What? McGinnis?
I like Texas versus BYU, actually. Remember, I took them over MSU because I don't trust them.
Texas, BYU, McGinnis.
So for that one, I think I'm going to take Texas. I think, like you said, I know BYU is a little ripe to be upset, but again, I don't think it'll be MSU or UCLA that does that. But I think Texas here is less of an upset because, obviously higher seed. And I think them playing an opponent like that will kind of get them out here pretty early.
Yeah, I got Texas, Michigan State. I got Texas winning this game. Same thing. The backcourt's just too good, Teets.
No, I agree with you. Texas is going to win this game. There's just too much of a talent difference at this point. And frankly, Texas has been hot this year. Texas has been playing well, and they played good against elite competition.
All right, next up. Did we all have Alabama, Maryland?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
All right, McGinnis, who do you got?
I think this has got to be probably the biggest upset for me of the tournament. I trust Maryland at least somewhat. And like I said, I don't trust Alabama as much. And I said they were going to get upset. I'm going to take it here with probably the biggest upset of the tournament.
I don't think it will be. But, Teets, what do you got?
I'm really torn here. I could flip a coin between these two teams, honestly, but I will lean towards Alabama. I think that I'm really untrustworthy with a lot of the SEC teams in the competition right now, but I think Alabama will have games where they're just very hot, where they just get everything done they possibly can. I believe that could be this game against Maryland. Maryland has better defense, but I think Alabama will just find a way to win this one.
All right, I agree. I think Alabama's just a better basketball team. Sweet 16. What's your matchups, McGinnis, and who do you like in those two games?
I have Michigan and Florida State and Texas and Maryland. Like I said, I really like Florida State, and I said Michigan was going to get upset. This is where I put that. I also put Texas over Maryland because although I think they've got a good defense and they're a good team, they're still a 10th seed. And after playing enough better competition, they're going to get kicked out here on one of them.
All right. So who do you got going to the Final Four?
That would be Florida State and Texas.
Florida State and Texas can't both go, but you mean the Elite Eight. So who do you like to go to the Final Four, Florida State or Texas?
Oh, my bad. Yeah, Texas. I'm going to take Texas on that one.
So you got Texas in the Final Four. Make sure we're writing this down.
I have it on a bracket. You'll be able to see it the entire week. So
well, I might change my mind by the time I fill out the bracket in your thing. So, all right.
That's why you do more than one.
I don't. Teets?
Yeah, looking at it right now, this is where I think Michigan will probably find a way to lose just because, like I said, Michigan's a team that I'm always kind of uncomfortable with going too far at this point. So I will take Colorado in this game. We'll call it an upset here just because, like I said, I'm just not comfortable taking Michigan too far beyond this point, especially without Isaiah Livers.
All right. What about the other matchup?
I will take Texas here. I know Alabama's the higher seed. They might even have the better team, but I trust Texas a little bit more than those SEC teams.
So who's your Final Four team?
I will take Texas as well.
All right. I got Colorado versus Michigan. Colorado wins. I got Alabama beating Texas. Man, I really want to put Colorado in the Final Four. Would that be crazy?
Nah, you should do it.
Okay, I'm going to go with Alabama then.
You can't do it.
I'm going with Alabama. I got Alabama as a 2 seed, Gonzaga as a 1 seed so far. Now we're going to switch, and we're going to go to the South region, which still doesn't have my Indiana Hoosiers or Xavier Musketeers in it. So I'm starting to think maybe they didn't make the tournament. All right, the South region. You think that's true? I think they missed. I'm used to at least one of them being there. South region, number 1, the Baylor Bears against the number 16 seed, the Hartford Hawks. McGinnis, do you got an upset here?
No, I think you definitely got to take Baylor.
All right. Everybody agree here. We just might as well get this over with. We both take Baylor.
Usually, I would say this. Usually, if you're not picking the 1 seed, there's something wrong with you in the first round. If you're not picking the 1 seed.
Okay, number 8, the North Carolina Tar Heels against the number 9 Wisconsin Badgers. Teets.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game. I'm excited to watch this one. North Carolina has not been nearly as good as they were in past seasons this year. Only 2-4 against top 25 teams, but Wisconsin's going to be kind of beat up as well, 3-9. I guess I'm going to give the slight edge to UNC here. I think this is really possibly the biggest coin flip of the tournament, but I will give a slight edge to North Carolina.
All right, I'm going to go with Wisconsin in a really close game. This may be the closest matchup in the first round to me, McGinnis.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a really good game. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I'm actually going to take Wisconsin here also.
All right, next up, the number 5.
Yeah, okay, I'm not the only one that lost audio there then.
Okay, wait, now I can hear you guys now. I lost audio for a second. I still can't hear Mike, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I can't hear Mike. All right, well, we'll get in. Mike, you figured that out. We're going to keep talking here. All right, so McGinnis, we got number 5 Villanova versus number 12 Winthrop. Just to lay it out again, Villanova is one of the teams that's kind of been affected here.
Right.
They are going to be missing Colin. I can't say it last name. Colin Giuseppoli, who tore his ACL recently. Yeah. Another NHL name. So they're going to be missing him. That's a big part of their offense. So they're going to be in a little bit of trouble here. I don't think it will kill against Winthrop because it's Winthrop, so I'll take Villanova here. But I think this is going to be a team that's not going to make a very deep run.
Well, and do you trust Villanova? They're very much so hit or miss. They're either we make it late in the tournament or we're dead nearly immediately. I am going to take, I think I took Villanova here. Yes, I did. So, yeah, I'm going to take Villanova here too. But trusting Villanova is not something you should do.
Yeah, we can hear you now, Mike. We can hear you now.
He's gone again.
Wait, keep up.
Can you hear me?
He's gone again.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I can hear you. You're echoing now, but yeah.
All right. You want to move on to the next one?
All right. Now he's gone. Just to give you a little breakdown, Colin Giuseppoli, he's averaging about 14 points per game, so he's a very big part of their team, which is why I think Villanova, without him, is going to struggle quite a bit. And he's only one of 4 players averaging over 10 points per game for them, so that's why I think the Wildcats will struggle down the stretch. But we'll continue now. And Mike, we can hear you, if we can. We can't right now, but we'll tell you, just keep asking. Eventually, I'm sure we'll get you back. But it's Purdue, number 4 Purdue versus number 13 North Texas. McGinnis, who are you taking this one?
I'm 100% taking Purdue. I really like Purdue, and I literally do not trust North Texas at all.
I kind of want to take North Texas here just for the fun of it.
Yeah, well, you see, that's traditionally how this goes. Is whoever picks the one person everybody else didn't pick on this network is traditionally the guy that's correct. So.
Can you hear me now? I'm going to take Purdue.
Yep,
we can hear you now. There you go.
Right. What'd I miss?
Villanova.
Villanova.
Yeah, we both pick Villanova.
Okay, I'm picking Winthrop. This is the easiest game to pick. Winthrop will dominate this game and win by 10 points.
All right, explain why.
Villanova is missing what? Maybe their best player. I don't think that Chandler Vaudrin, who's a 6'7" point guard, to me, can be stopped. He can back you in. He can shoot over you. He can rebound on both ends. Winthrop, to me, is a threat to win a national championship.
I forgot they actually, now that you mentioned the 6'7" point guard, I actually forgot they had him. It's not going to change my pick. Well, I do remember hearing about him earlier this year. So that's all right. That makes the game closer in my mind. I'm still taking Villanova, though. I'll still be rolling. I'll still go down with the ship.
Well, you're going to go down with the ship. Winthrop wins this game. And if you're out there and you're listening to this, go bet all your money, your house, all your worldly possessions, your wife and your kids on this game because it'll be a big payoff after you do.
All right, so that's probably Mike's biggest upset of the tournament so far. But that brings us to Purdue versus North Texas. I don't know.
Purdue.
I'm thinking Purdue here.
Purdue, the number 4 seed against the North Texas Mean Green. That's a cool ass name too. Purdue will win this game. Purdue's better coach. They got better players. What do you think, McGinnis?
Yeah, I already picked Purdue. We talked about it a little bit, and I agree with you on that one. Purdue's just the better team, period.
All right, have we talked Texas Tech yet?
We have not.
No, we have not.
The number 6 Red Raiders of Texas Tech, who are the defending runners-up from 2 years ago, will play the Utah State Aggies. So this, to me, is actually a pretty decent matchup, but I like Texas Tech. I think they're a little bit more consistent. I wish they'd shoot from the free throw line a little bit better, but what do you think, Teets?
Yeah, these are two teams that probably aren't going to go very far, but they're both high-scoring offenses, and Texas Tech has just played a lot better competition. They have a losing record against elite competitors at this point, but Utah State is just 0-1 against top 25 teams. I can't really put much money on those kind of programs right now, so I'm definitely taking Texas Tech here.
Yeah, and Texas Tech is led by Mac McClung and Terrence Shannon, which are they're a lot better guards than what Utah State's has got. What do you think, Teets? McGinnis, I mean.
I'm actually going to take Utah State here. It's very hard to continue to win after going to a championship, even as a runner-up. I think the effect is pretty much the same as if you had won it. So I'm actually going to take Utah State.
But that was 2 years ago now.
I understand. But it was the last time the tournament was done.
All right. Number 3, Arkansas will take on number 14, the Colgate Raiders, which is a damn good toothpaste, if nothing else. What do you think, McGinnis?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to take Arkansas here.
You're taking Arkansas? Don't blow this off because I think this is a close game. Miguel or Teets, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't really like Arkansas's defense very much. They're giving up over 70 points per game, and Colgate is a high-scoring team, averaging about 86 points per game. So is Arkansas. This is going to be a shootout. This is going to be well into the 80s, I believe. So it could be a very close game. I'm going to take Arkansas here, but realistically, this is not one you can just pass over. I think this is a game you want to watch.
Yeah, Moses Moody's the guy to watch here, and I like Colgate in the upset. There you go.
All right, 2 upsets here in the southern part of the bracket.
I picked a toothpaste. All right, next up, number 7, the Florida Gators against the number 10, Virginia Hokies, McGinnis.
Yeah, I actually like this matchup. Again, I really like 7 versus 10 matchups in general. I'm going to take Florida here. I know I took the 10th seed in the other one, but I'm going to take Florida here.
All right, I agree. I'm taking Florida also. Teets?
Really, I'm going to take Virginia Tech here. I'll go out on a limb and just take Virginia Tech. I've rooted for Florida in the past. They just kind of find a way to break my heart all the time. So I'm just accepting that at this point that Virginia Tech is probably going to win this game. They're undefeated right now against top 25 competitors. I'm taking the Hokies.
All right, next up, the Ohio State Buckeyes, number 2 seed, will battle Oral Roberts, the Golden Eagles. Teach, do you see an upset possible here?
I mean, these two teams, I don't know. I think I'll take Ohio State here, certainly, because they've had just so much experience at this point at elite level competition.
Yep.
They're not a very good defense. That's probably the issue for them. They're allowing over 70 points per game. Got a pretty good offense right now. And Oral Roberts, who have they played? They haven't played anyone relevant. I'm taking Ohio State.
Well, you've picked upsets here where the other team hadn't really played anybody relevant. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, but this fits my argument for now, so I'm just going to go with
I know. So you always give McGinnis crap about it. So I figured I'd bring it up. McGinnis, what do you think?
I'm also going to go Ohio State here. They also beat Michigan, who is a 1 seed. So impressive on that note. Was during the Big Ten tournament? No, I believe it was during.
Maybe.
Yes, maybe.
I believe
I'll pull up the schedule.
Yeah, I believe it was during the Big Ten tournament. So that also proves their tournament play. So I trust Ohio State here to do what they should and beat up a team who is appropriately seeded.
All right, next up, I've got Baylor versus North Carolina in the second round. I like Baylor to win this game. They score too easily. I think they take out an experienced Badgers team. I think it'll be a really good game. I think it'll be close. I think Baylor wins by 6 to 8 points. Teets, who do you have here?
Yeah, I have Baylor versus UNC, and I believe both of you had Baylor versus Wisconsin. Either way, I think Baylor's going to win this game. There are real issues right now with Wisconsin's and North Carolina's programs at this point. They're not going to make it very far.
All right, McGinnis.
100% agreed. As I said, Wisconsin and North Carolina game is going to be really good, but I think Baylor will dominate whoever comes out of that.
All right, next up, I had Winthrop versus Purdue. I think the size and toughness of Purdue could very easily end the Cinderella run, but it's not going to. Winthrop goes to the Sweet 16. What do you think, McGinnis?
I'm actually going to take Villanova. I had Villanova versus Purdue. I do understand the Purdue analogy, and it was probably a good move, but I'm just going to take out on a limb and go for Villanova here. All
right. Teets?
Yeah, I'll be boring. I've got Villanova versus Purdue. I'm taking the higher seed team, Purdue. They're just a better program right now. And like you said, Villanova's dealing with injuries.
All right. What do we have up next? Was that Arkansas? I had Arkansas against Florida. I'm going to take Arkansas.
No, you had
Texas
you had
Tech.
Texas Tech versus Colgate.
Oh, okay. Did I have Arkansas losing to Texas Tech or what?
You had Arkansas losing to Colgate. We're not.
Oh yeah,
there.
that's right. We're Colgate. I had Colgate against Texas Tech. I'm going to go Texas Tech with Matt McClung to go to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, here I've got my matchup is Texas Tech versus Arkansas. I'm taking Texas Tech as well over Arkansas. That's just the program. Like the defense, again, defense is an issue for some of these programs, which is why I won't pick them. Yeah. Arkansas does not have a good defense.
All right, McGinnis.
So my hot take of the day, I actually have Utah State beating Arkansas here. Same issues you guys were talking about, just different team.
Yeah, and you'll be wrong. Just like Teets is going to be wrong. Next up, I had Ohio State against Florida. I'm going with Ohio State.
Yeah.
McGinnis, you had Ohio State, Virginia Tech?
No, I had Ohio. Pardon me, my bad.
Or did you have Florida?
He's asking you, McGinnis.
Okay, I thought for a second because it was on the screen he was talking to you, and I got mixed up. No, yeah, I did actually have Florida, but I'm going to go Ohio State here also.
All righty. Teets?
Yep, I got Ohio State versus Virginia Tech. I'm taking Ohio State.
All right, Sweet 16 matchups. What did we have, Teets?
Well, I've got Baylor versus Purdue right now. And I don't know what you guys are. I think you guys all have different ones. You have Baylor, Mike. You have Baylor versus Winthrop, and McGinnis has Baylor versus Villanova. So we all pick different ones to get to this point. And looking at the matchup, I'm still going to take Baylor here. I'm not picking very many upsets over 1 seeds at this point, but I still think Baylor's just going to win this game.
I'm taking Butler over Winthrop also, or Baylor over Winthrop also. What do you think, McGinnis?
I am taking Baylor over Villanova. Yeah, so despite having all three different teams against Baylor, we all agree then that Baylor will continue.
All right. What do I have next?
Texas Tech versus Ohio State.
Texas Tech versus Ohio State. I'm going to take Texas Tech and Matt McClung to win that game. I really like
okay.
Yeah, I'm serious. I'm serious. I like upsets.
They're fun.
What you got, McGinnis?
So I had Utah State versus Ohio State, and I'm going to go Ohio State here. I think their Cinderella run ends here.
All righty, Teets.
Yeah, I'm taking Ohio State. They got to win Washington, EJ Liddell. I think those two are just too good right now. And again, Ohio State, it's maybe an up and down program, but right now against Texas Tech, I'm taking the Buckeyes.
All right, Sweet 16. What do we got?
I think we all got Baylor. Well, you have Baylor versus Texas Tech. Everyone else has Baylor versus Ohio State.
All right. So go ahead, McGinnis.
I'm going to go Baylor here, mostly just because I have them as the champions on my bracket. I think Ohio State actually could beat them, but I'm gonna go with Baylor since I have them as my champion.
All right. I'm going to go with Baylor also in this game. How about you, Teets?
Yeah, I'll just take Ohio State to be a little bit different here. They both have very good offenses. Their defenses are both kind of up and down. I'll just take Ohio State.
All right,
Well,
where are we
it's not
at?
completely unrealistic either to see that happen.
Yeah.
All right, so what's our Elite Eight? I've got Texas Tech against who? Baylor? Or no, I had Texas Tech.
Yeah, you just picked Baylor to beat Texas Tech, Mike. You're done.
Oh, okay.
You finished
in
up
the
the
final
Southern
eight?
bracket.
In the final eight or what?
Yeah, you picked your final 8 was Baylor versus Texas Tech, and you picked Baylor. So,
all right. So who do y'all have in the final 4?
Well, we still got one more region to go, but right now I have Iowa, Texas, and Ohio State.
I couldn't remember if you said Ohio State or not. That's why I asked. Where are we at? The Midwest?
Yep, Midwest.
The Midwest region. Even though they're all being played in the Midwest, I guess, huh?
Well, also, isn't Michigan in the like regionally? Isn't Michigan the state in the Midwest? So my confusion here is how is MSU and Michigan not in the Midwest?
Because they're not in the Midwest. They're actually in the northern part of the country.
Usually I consider Michigan as part of the Midwest since I heard that growing up the whole time I lived there, but whatever.
Yeah, but it's really in the north. Teets went to Clemson, so he would know.
Yeah, I went to Clemson in the south, so it totally makes that's Clemson in the mid. Oh, okay, whatever. I don't care. Doesn't matter that much. I couldn't be asked to care today. First matchup, Illinois versus Drexel, the 1 seed versus the 16 seed. I think this is pretty easy.
Yeah.
There's no doubt Drexel wins this game.
Okay.
Next, we're all picking Illinois. Next up, the Loyola Ramblers against Georgia Tech. And this, I think, is one of the best matchups of the tournament. Teets.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Georgia Tech guys don't have a very good defense. Loyola has been here in the past. Loyola has had upsets 2 years ago. This is a very important program. They went on a bit of a streak. They were in a Cinderella story for a while. I'm going to take Georgia Tech here, though. I mean, Georgia Tech, I'm pretty sure, just won the ACC tournament. Correct me if I'm wrong. They have issues. This is not a team that I like, but I think Georgia Tech will narrowly win this game. I'm
going with Loyola. I think their defense is significantly better than Georgia Tech's, and I think the ACC is
weak.
I think it's weak. It's overrated. It's not what it used to be. So I'm going to go with Loyola to win this game and to go on to play Illinois in an all-Chicago second round or all-Illinois or whatever. Next up, are you going to pick the game, McGinnis, or are you just going to sit there?
Are we moving on to the Tennessee game?
Well, you got to pick the Loyola game yet.
You didn't ask me. All right. I'm going to take Georgia Tech. I think, again, like you guys said, it's actually going to be a really good game, and the defense is a little concerning, but I'm going to take them for 1 win here.
All right. So you'll be wrong there. That'll be all right. You'll just be like Teets. Next up, the number 5, Tennessee Volunteers against the number 12, Oregon State Beavers. Make sure you're writing down what our matchups are, too, one of you, because my brain don't work too good no more.
I'll figure it out.
Tennessee, Oregon State. I'm taking Tennessee. I think they're just a better team here, Teets.
Yeah, I think this is pretty cut and dry for me. I'm taking Tennessee as well.
I'm taking Tennessee also. I know a lot of people like to pick 12 seeds to beat 5 seeds, but I don't think this is the time to do it.
All right, next up, the number 4 Oklahoma State Cowboys against the number 13 Liberty Flames. Oklahoma State is underseeded, I think. I think they should be a 3-seeded worse. Liberty's won 11 straight games. They had an upset in the tournament 2 years ago. I think this looks like a game where you're going to get an upset, but I think Oklahoma State has one of the best players in the tournament. I think Oklahoma State wins the game, McGinnis.
I'm actually going to disagree with you. I remember looking back to the 2019 tournament and seeing the upset you were talking about and being rather surprised. And I think this is a team of surprises. And I think regardless of whether they're underseeded or not, Oklahoma, I think Liberty could pull this one out.
All right. Teets?
It's going to be a good game, but Cade Cunningham's only on one team here. He's on Oklahoma State, so I'm taking them to win this game.
All right, next up, the number 6 San Diego Aztecs versus the number 11 Syracuse Orangemen, Teets.
The Aztecs are a team I'm picking to go very deep in this tournament. I like what they've done so far, and I get Syracuse. This is a team that sometimes can come out and just pull these wins out of their butts and just have these good games. But I'm taking San Diego State here. I think San Diego State's going to make a pretty deep run.
Yeah, the only scary thing for Syracuse is Buddy Boeheim, and that's a stupid name. So, McGinnis, what do you think?
Once again, going back to 2019 tournament, yeah, Syracuse is another team that I think can surprise, and I think this team will also do that.
So you like Syracuse in this game?
I do.
You know their best player's name's Buddy Boeheim, right?
Name doesn't matter. The NHL proves that.
But the best player for San Diego State is Matt Mitchell, which makes more sense. I'm going to go with San Diego State just because of that. Next up, the number 3 West Virginia Mountaineers versus the number 14 Morehead State Eagles. McGinnis.
Yeah, I'm going to go with West Virginia here. I don't think this is one of those games. I just picked my 2 upsets, and you can only pick so many, and I don't see Morehead as a team that's going to beat West Virginia.
All right. Teets?
Yeah, Morehead State has not beaten a top 25 program this year. I know West Virginia is at least capable of doing that, so I'm going to take the Mountaineers to win this one.
All right, I'm taking Morehead State, the Eagles.
I knew you would do that.
Game. Well, I will because they're better. They got big guards. They got length. They're tough on the defensive end of the floor. West Virginia is coached by, Bob Huggins. I mean, it's always 50-50 where they'll even be sober. So I'm going to go with Morehead State in the upset. What do you think of that?
Not shocking. Not shocking at all at this point.
Why is it not shocking?
I have a feeling sometimes with half these games, you're just going to pick the upsets. I have a feeling with it.
No, because you're wrong. I'm picking what's going to happen.
Right.
It's the same thing you said about the Super Bowl when I was the only one to pick the Buccaneers, and the game wasn't even close, I would like to bring up.
That's true.
I will also note I now know where the Landmark Eagles got their logo from.
No, now we know where Morehead State got theirs. But the other thing is this. Remember, 2 years ago at the start when we did the NCAA Tournament show, I don't even know if you guys were on, I picked Texas Tech. They went to the finals and lost. The year before that, I think it was, I picked Villanova, and they won it all. Might have been 2 years before that. But Steve Risley had to sing, too, because I was right and he was wrong.
I do remember you bringing that up.
Yeah, that was good stuff. Next up, the number 7 Clemson Tigers. Wonder who Teets is going to pick. Against the number 10 Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Teets, I'll let you begin.
Where do I go with this? I'm surprised Rutgers is even here, to be frank. But seeing Rutgers and Clemson match up in the tournament is kind of interesting. I had an uncle that went to Rutgers, so if Clemson ends up losing this game, I'm gonna have to hear about it for the next 20 years of my life. I'm picking Clemson to win this just because they have to win it, because I really don't want to have to deal with all the Rutgers fans rubbing it in my face back up here.
All right, I believe you're going to have to deal with that because I think Rutgers is a tougher team. They've played a tougher schedule. They play in a physical Big Ten. I think Rutgers is very underrated. I think Rutgers could pull a few upsets here. I like Rutgers. What do you think, McGinnis?
I'm actually going to go with Clemson here too, but to your point, I actually think this is going to be a really close game. It could even come down to the last 2 or 4 points.
All right, number 2, the Houston Cougars against the number 15 Cleveland State Vikings. To me, this is a mismatch. The Houston Cougars are one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the country, I believe. I'm taking Houston, McGinnis.
Yeah, I got to agree with you on that one.
All right, Teets, you agree?
Houston has stifling defense. They haven't played a lot of top 25 teams. I think they only played 1 top 25 competitor so far, but they're allowing about 58 points per game. You don't get that in many teams. I'm taking Houston.
Yeah, and I think that's the only problem with Houston is they got Kelvin Sampson as their coach. He's a cheater.
Another head coach that you don't like?
He's a scumbag. I mean, he went to IU. He got him put on probation. The place he was at before that, he got him put on probation. I mean, hell, if you want to be Houston and you want to win at all costs, hell, if you want to be any college program and you want to win at all costs, Kelvin Sampson's your guy. Second round, I think I've got Illinois versus Loyola Chicago. You guys both have Georgia Tech?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so who do you guys like, Illinois or Georgia Tech, Teets?
I'm taking Illinois. I think Illinois is one of the 4 best teams. Well, so apparently people are ranked the teams, but I think Illinois is one of the 4 best teams in the country right now. I'm taking them.
All right, McGinnis?
Though I don't have them winning, I have Illinois winning this game, but though I don't have them winning the championship, I think they've got a legitimate shot at it. So I'm going to give it to Illinois here.
All right, I'm going to go with Illinois. I think this will be a close game, though. I just don't think Loyola's got enough firepower on the offensive side. Next up, I think I had Tennessee, Oklahoma State, didn't I?
Yeah, so did I. I think we all did.
Did we all? Okay. McGinnis, what do you think?
I had Tennessee and Liberty, but I'm
I thought
did.
so. So you can pick Tennessee, Liberty then. How about that?
Yeah, I'm actually going with Tennessee here. I think Liberty's only good enough to get a win in the tournament but I do have them getting 1, but I don't think they're good enough to get another one.
I think you're nuts. I think if they were to beat Oklahoma State, they'll go to at least a Sweet 16.
I'm sure my friend who goes there would be very happy to hear you say that.
Because Oklahoma State, to me, is a lot better than Tennessee, which is why I'm picking Oklahoma State, Teets.
That's fair. I think there is some concern that Keith Cunningham maybe carries too much of the load for Oklahoma State. But in times like this, during during the March Madness, certainly those one-team engines can work. It happens. You can see teams that have one star player make a deep run. I'm taking Oklahoma State as well. Sometimes I like to pick the lower seed here, but it's Cade Cunningham versus the Tennessee team that doesn't have many star players.
All right. What do we have next? I had Morehead State against somebody. Didn't I have Morehead State against
You
San
have
Diego
Morehead,
State?
you had Morehead State versus San Diego State.
I'm going to go with San Diego State there. What did McGinnis have?
I had West Virginia and Syracuse, and I went with West Virginia.
All right. Teets?
I've got San Diego State versus West Virginia, and I'm taking San Diego State.
All right. Then I've got Houston against Rutgers, which I think you guys both had Houston against Clemson. I think Houston-Rutgers is a close game most of the way. I think Houston's got too much offense for them.
Yeah, and the other thing that I'm looking at is Houston's defense. Like I said, Houston's defense right now could be the stuff. Back now, Clemson, I have Houston versus Clemson, and both these teams are very good defensively. If it comes down to the offense, though, I mean, they got Quentin Grimes and Houston. He's averaging about 18, 19 points per game versus Clemson's offense might not be as good. I just got to pick it for Clemson. I'll take Clemson one more time. I'll take Clemson one more time this tournament.
Wow.
Jeez.
I cannot do that with you, Teets. I think that's a little bit of home favoritism. I'm going to go with Houston.
Dang. Somebody to pick Clemson over Houston. That's dumber than somebody picking Morehead State to win their first round game. All right. Sweet 16. What do we got here, Teets?
Illinois versus Oklahoma State for both you and I, Mike. I don't know what McGinnis did. I forget. But for us, I still think this is going to be a good matchup. It's Cade Cunningham, though, versus a much more well-rounded team in Illinois. I'm taking Illinois in this one.
I'm going to go Illinois also. What did McGinnis have?
I had Illinois and Tennessee. I'm also taking Illinois. Again, I think they can go really far and have a chance at a championship.
All right. What's our other matchup?
You've got San Diego State versus Houston. I have San Diego State versus Clemson, which makes it pretty easy to take San Diego State here.
Not really, because Houston's better than San Diego State, and you were a homer on that last pick. I'm going with San Diego State.
He was
wait a second. I had Houston against San Diego State?
Yeah, you did.
McGinnis, go ahead and pick yours. I'm thinking.
So I'm going to actually pick Houston over who I have in there, which is West Virginia. I think Houston is a really good team. I don't think they're going to win a championship, but I think they'll make a good run.
All right. I'm going to go San Diego State to upset Houston, which gives me Illinois versus San Diego State. What matchups do you guys have?
I have Illinois versus San Diego State.
I have Illinois versus Houston.
So what do you got, McGinnis?
I'm going to go with Illinois for one last win. Again, they've got a shot. They won't do it, but they've got a shot, and I think they'll just outscore Houston just by a little bit here. I think this will be one of the better matchups in the entire tournament.
All right, Mr. Teets.
Illinois has two players averaging over 17 points per game. I'm taking Illinois here.
Yeah. The thing that strikes me, I want to pick San Diego State. I think they're good. But they beat Arizona State. They beat UCLA. UC Irvine's a pretty good team. But they did lose by 10 to BYU. So I'm going to go with Illinois.
Yeah.
You can sense the disappointment in his voice. I
don't like Illinois because of Lou Henson. But that was a long time ago. But I have a hard time letting things go sometimes. All right. What do we got in our final four, Teets? Hopefully you wrote it down.
Oh, I have no idea. I wasn't writing down what you guys did. Are you kidding?
I've got mine pulled up. So
I had Gonzaga versus Alabama, and okay. I had Illinois. Was it against Baylor?
Illinois Baylor. Is that what you had?
Did I?
I think he did. Yeah.
That's stupid. All right, I'm gonna take my national championship game. Will be Gonzaga versus Illinois. They're the two best teams.
All right. I got Gonzaga knocked out already, which obviously doesn't sit well with Mike, but I'll take Iowa versus Illinois.
Iowa versus Illinois for the national championship?
Sure, why not?
All right. McGinnis.
I took Baylor versus Texas because I had Virginia and Texas and the Indianapolis, and then Baylor and Illinois. So I'm going to take Baylor versus Texas.
Who you get to win it all?
I got Baylor.
All right. Teets?
Illinois.
I'm going Gonzaga.
There you go. That's not shocking. I think Illinois and Gonzaga going into this are probably the
best
teams.
Two teams, but my thing is this. I believe that Gonzaga has the one thing people are missing. I think Mark Few may be the best college basketball coach in the country.
I've heard him compared to like a younger Coach K right now with what he's doing with their program.
But he's doing it at Gonzaga. There was no history of this before him. What was it, Munson, the coach that was there before him? They made a couple tournaments. I think they made it to an Elite Eight. But Mark Few took him to a different level. And if you look at Mike Krzyzewski, he gets to Duke, 1981 or 82? That's 2 years after they were in the Elite Eight and lost to Purdue in 1980. And then 2 years before that, they were in the national championship game. You go all the way back to the mid-'60s, 1964-65. They're in the Final Four against Duke, played for the national championship. So he's doing it at a school that before really he got there, I don't know, those couple years right before he got there, the only thing they were known for was John Stockton, who I think the best John Stockton could do with him was the NIT.
Well, yeah, now, I think, when was the last time they didn't win the regular season championship? It might have been 2011 for Gonzaga. They've been dominating their conference right now.
Yeah, and the thing about the conference is it does suck. But St. Mary's, other than this year, is usually like 25-4, and 3 of their 4 losses are to Gonzaga. So, and no matter what you say about Gonzaga, they're very rarely one and done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they made the Final Four in I want to say like the 2016, 2017 season. They made the Final Four at that point.
Well, they made it to the national championship game.
Yeah. Right. That's right. Who'd they play in that game? That
North Carolina.
Okay. Yeah. And they lost. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
So
I do remember that now.
All right. So it looks like Gonzaga will win the national championship. And you two guys will probably be wrong, but we will come back. When is the second round over? Are these games? All the first 4 games are tomorrow. Then you got first round games on Friday, Saturday.
First round games are still on Saturday, I believe.
Okay, so Sunday, Monday, second round.
I can look it up real quick. Second round begins Sunday. Yeah, Sunday and Monday.
Sunday, Monday. All right. So after the first round is complete, maybe we'll come back and see how we've done. So McGinnis, you get to sit down and watch this show and write down everything we said.
No, I have mine on the sheet, the same as Sam Teeds does here. It's not that hard to fill out.
Yeah, but I'll change my mind by the time I fill mine out. And plus, where can people join us to pick against us in this?
If they want,
don't we have a link? If you send me the link, I can actually put it on our Facebook page and up on Twitter and see if we can get some people to join.
Sounds good. I'll send you the link.
All right, guys. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I got one quick thing. We've talked about coaches so much. I need you to, at some point, to write out a list for us. I'm curious of what your list is for what makes the best coach.
What makes the best coach?
Yeah, like if you had a top 10, like what makes a best coach?
What would be your top 10?
I think one of the things, I'm not sure I could name all top 10. You're more on this end. I think one of them has to be, for me, being able to enable players to be what they're best at. I think oftentimes coaches try and take them out of their best field, and that can be catastrophic. That's kind of what we see with John Tortorella and Patrick Laine.
How about this? I believe the most important thing is, for a coach, is that you trust your players to make decisions during games. I think the perfect example of that, I grew up in Indiana. Bob Knight had a lot of shortcomings, but the one thing he never had a shortcoming with is his guys always knew what they were supposed to do. And it used to blow me away. The only team I've ever seen that in the last 20 seconds of a game, even if it's a national championship game, if you look, 1987 national championship game, you get the missed free throw. I use down a point with like 20, 25 seconds left. They bring the ball up the court. They continued to run their offense and scored. Syracuse had to call a timeout immediately to draw up what they were doing. Indiana, probably 90% of the time in that situation, never even used a timeout because Bob Knight coached these players in practice, so they knew what they were supposed to be doing. I think number 2 is you got to know that the coach has your best interest at heart. And I mean, not to sound like Dabo Swinney, but if you go talk to a team and you ask them about their coach I mean, the thing I always wanted was this. When I played, and I never got this, where I played, all the coaches were basically miserable human beings. And I'm not trying to be mean, but it's just true. I mean,
Right.
I want a coach that I know gives a damn about me. I think to me, that's probably number one more than anything else, because I know this. I'd have been a lot better player if I'd had a guy there that I knew was looking out for my best interest and not just trying to win a game to make him feel better about himself. And I mean, there's a lot of coaches, they're just looking to win games to boost their own ego. And I think to me, those are the things. And you will not cheat under any circumstances. You know something's wrong, you don't do it. Because the thing is this, once you do something that's wrong, your whole team knows you just did something that was wrong. And you just lost their respect. So to me, it's not really about how much you know about the sport even. It's just how much those players know you care about them. They care about you back, because once you've got that, you got a team that wins. And doing like the NFL Legends show, when you talk to guys that played for like Bum Phillips or Bud Grant or Chuck Noll, I mean, you've heard the way some of those guys that were Steelers, Sam, talk about Chuck Noll. I mean, they talk about how much they loved this guy. And, you know, Bill Walsh, the same way. It seems to me like when I bring up, you know, Randy Cross has been on the show a bunch. And I remember the first time I interviewed him, I asked him, what's the first word comes into your mind when I say Bill Walsh? He said, I love him. And I mean, you get the same thing when you talk about any of these guys that are really great coaches. George Allen. I had a guy that played in Super Bowl VII for George Allen. His name was Jeff Severson. He was a safety. And he starts talking about George Allen and he starts crying because he talked about how much he cared about him. Jerry Kramer, I got to interview, who played for Vince Lombardi. The same thing. The guys that played for Lombardi that you talk to, all they talk about is how much that guy cared about them. So in the end, I think that's the most important thing. And I think that that's really missing, because a lot of times high school and college, most of these coaches are looking for their next job that'll pay them more.
Yeah.
You know, so they care about that player as long as that they need that player to win. You know, so find me a coach that will go talk to the last 2 or 3 guys sitting on his bench instead of just talking to the guys that are winning him the games. You know, that would be my list. My list is just that one thing.
All right.
You can train a monkey to draw up X's and O's.
That's true.
You know, Zach Taylor proves that in Cincinnati. But all right, Sam Teets, Sam McGinnis, you guys want to tell us where you can find you on Twitter?
Yeah, you can find me at Sam_Teets33 on Twitter. Constantly post new articles, stats, and polls there. So feel free to go check all that stuff out.
You can find me at Sammy22 on Twitter also. I'm more the NHL guy and NFL guy. You can also check out me and Sam Teets podcast every Friday at 9:30 p.m., though I think we might be changing the time here soon.
Yeah, I mean, you guys got more listeners than ever the last 2 weeks. You might as well change the time. Try to keep people on their toes, huh, Sam?
The original reason we had it there in the first place is because if you remember when the Sam with Sam show started, it was the same time football season was still in, and we had practice. That was almost an hour away from me, so.
Okay, it was for me too, so quit complaining. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. You can follow me at Grueling Truth. Me and Sam will be back with the NFL show probably soon. Maybe Monday, Sam. We can talk about everything that happened in free agency.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. I think next Monday should be fun.
All right. So for now, for Sam McGinnis, Sam Teets, I'm Mike Goodpastor. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.